Team, your exercises for today's workout, we start where all good things start, and that is number one. We start with the frog squat. I want elbows inside of the knees. I want you to try and get as low in the hips as you can and as high in the hips as you can on the extension. Control the movement, but move at a pretty quick clip if you can. Exercise number two, we move into a vault push-up. Again, hands under shoulders. I want you to think about keeping your body nice and low to the floor. We throw our body forward to find our push, then we throw our butt to our heels to get a little bit of tension in the legs. Exercise number three, into a hollow rock. I want you to think about trying to bring your hips and your ribs together, and you're having only your lower back on the floor. From there, it's a very small movement, as you'll see that Kelvin is doing. Keep it tight and keep that rock relatively small, alrighty? Exercise number four, we move into a prisoner squat. Hands up, and then drop those hips low. I want you to think keeping that chest really high and keeping those elbows as high as you can as well. Think about pushing your knees out at the bottom of your squat and having really active feet. And if you can, turn that midline on. Depth and then full extension. We then move into exercise number five, downward dog into a push-up. I want you to hang the hips up on a coat hanger and then bring them down to the floor to find your push. Make this movement pretty smooth and keep your midline and your hips in control the entire time. We then move into a butterfly sit-up. I want you to think butterfly the legs, touch the floor behind the head, and then bring your hands all the way forward to touch your toes, floor to toes. Make sure you are controlling your spine back onto the floor, and make sure you're getting your shoulders past your hip crease. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know them now. Attack them hard. Alright team, with this movement, it's completely dependent on your range of motion and your stability through your midline and what's called your thoracic spine. So I want you to make sure you're trying to get your hips as low as you can while shoving your knees out. When you come up to your top position, you should feel a little tickle in your hamstring. This is a good thing, but I want you to make sure the movement is controlled. I don't want you to drop to the bottom while shoving the knees out. I want you to control on the way down, control on the way up, and thank me for that burn in those quads at the end of this set. With the vault push-up teamer, I want you to stay as low to the floor as you can. Your knees shouldn't go more than an inch off the floor. Move the hips back with control and think about trying to balance a cup of rosé or a cup of coffee on your lower back. Stay in control in the midline, stay low to the floor, and make that movement smooth as peanut butter. Alrighty team, this is an odd movement, but it has some really good carryover to a lot of other movements. I want you to make sure you try and bridge the gap between your belly button and your pelvis. Really tuck those hips under. Stay strong in this small hollow position. Point those toes and make sure the movement is quite small and controlled from your midline. I don't want you swinging your legs up and down too much. It's all from the center. All right, team, music up, head down, and I'll see you at the break. Oh, nice one. Halfway there, team. Now recover. Let that heart rate settle. Take your time. Come back down to terra firma and get ready for the second half. Hands up for the prisoner squat. I want you to stick that chest up as high as you can while still trying to get the same depth as you normally get in your squat. Because you won't have as much hip flexion on this movement, I want you to make sure you're really controlling through your glutes. So this means keeping the weight on your heels while still trying to hit your depth. Remember, tight midline, active feet, and keep that chest tall. In the downward dog position, I want you to think about hanging your hips up on a coat hanger. I really want them high. When you come down for your push-up, make sure that movement is controlled and you don't fall down into your prone position. When you do hit your push-up, again, I want a bit of control. I want as much depth as you can give me. And then I want you to connect the push of your arms to the flexion of your hips to find that downward dog position again. Smooth, controlled, and beautiful. On this one, team, make sure you are making contact with the floor above your head and then making contact with your toes. Use the arms for momentum, but remember the money and the benefit of this is all got to do with what's happening with your core. Peel your spine off the floor and then control it back to the floor. I also want you to make sure your shoulders are passing the hips on the top end of this movement. So don't want you just to touch your toes, I want you to sit up nice and tall. Floor to toes, keep it moving. Okay, time to work. Music up, and I'll see you at the end. Hey, nice one. Workout finished. Now is the time to recover. Get your stretch on, get your water on. Let's get fitter.